In 150 yards, turn right onto Dover Road. Turn right onto Dover Road. Continue for 1.5 miles.
This morning for the rest of the country.
You can spend time outdoors and exercise as often as you like, and you can meet one person outside your household in an outdoor public place, provided that you stay 2 meters apart.
Drinks and snacks were laid out on the long table, and it's understood around 40 staff eventually attended, but crucially the Prime Minister and his wife Carrie Johnson are believed to have been at this party. This is despite Boris Johnson telling the House of Commons last month he was furious at any suggestions parties had taken place in Downing Street.
I can understand how infuriating it must be to think that the people who have been setting the rules have not been following the rules, Mr. Speaker, because I was also furious to see that clip. But I repeat, Mr. Speaker, that I have been repeatedly assured since these allegations emerged that there was no party and that no COVID rules were broken, and that is what I have been repeatedly assured.
Boris Johnson, of course, responding after that video clip emerged of Allegra Stratton, his former private press secretary, joking about serving wine and cheese at a socially distanced party at Downing Street in the Christmas of 2020. But yesterday, the Prime Minister was tight-lipped about whether he and his wife had attended this party back in May of that year.
All of that, as you know, is the subject of a proper investigation by Sue Gray.
So have you already been interviewed by Sue Gray, and if not, can you object to her questioning you again about this?
All that is subject for an interview, for investigation by Sue Gray.
Now, of course, Number 10 has tried to draw a line under Partygate. As the Prime Minister said there, this is subject to an investigation by the Whitehall enforcer Sue. Now, she was due, we were told, to have concluded her report by now, but the necessary staff changes could have been made. A few deputies would have perhaps lost their jobs and the world would have moved on. But Labour Deputy Leader Angela Rayner says this story is now much more serious than that.
It's disgusting. It's despicable. You know, at the time, many people couldn't see their loved ones who were dying. The British public were told to do the right thing, to keep people safe, to look after their relatives. Prime Ministers should know better. If the law has been broken, the Metropolitan Police should be dealing with that as they would do any other member of the public during that period. And let's not forget, many members of the public did get dealt with criminally as part of what happened in COVID.
Now, Sue Gray's inquiry is going to go on for at least another 2 weeks, and the Met has been in touch with the Cabinet Office about the latest revelations. But Michael Gove insisted to you yesterday the Prime Minister was the man to lead the Tories and the country.
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to continue towards Tons Lane, A355.
The cost of living crisis. He's the Joe Root of modern politics now, Boris Johnson, isn't he?
No, I don't accept that. I think that the Prime Minister is
Every innings he has, he's skittled out, whether it be parties, Owen, Patterson, whatever it might be. He gives up his wicket, doesn't he?
No, he's the
Keep right.
of politics. He is the true blue champion, and even though we don't necessarily win every match, he's an inspirational leader.
Michael Gove speaking with me yesterday to conclude Theo Usher's report. Just before we get at the legal side in a moment with legal commentator Danny Shaw, we're going to hear from Ed Davey. I just want to share with you, we've looked at the Met Police tweet, or briefing if you will, that we were all living under on the day of the party. We don't need to say alleged party. What we're not certain of course, is the Prime Minister's attendance, but this is what the Met said. Have you been enjoying the hottest day of the year so far? It's important we all continue to hashtag stay alert. You can relax, have a picnic, exercise or play sport as long as you are on your own, with people you live with, just you and one other person. And then coronavirus, spending time outdoors safely. More, as I say, on the legal side with Danny Shaw. Now, let's get the political reaction now. So Ed Davey is leader of the Liberal Democrats, former Cabinet Minister himself, and joins me now. What do you want to see come from the Prime Minister, or...
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto the M4 slip road to London, Heathrow Airport.
Minds back to that first lockdown and how tough it was. You know, people losing loved ones in huge numbers, people unable to go to loved ones' bedsides, they're dying. People not able to see friends, the whole life disrupted as we kept to the rules that Boris Johnson said we should keep to. And now we hear he was partying. I think people are almost lost for words. Some will be traumatised by this news as it brings back the memories. Other people will be extremely angry. And we need some serious answers. We're obviously going to wait formally for Sue Gray's inquiry. That's
how much longer must we wait, do you imagine, Sir?
Well, hopefully not very long. I mean, we just need to know that Sue Gray's inquiry will cover this latest email and this latest party. But I mean, I'm also concerned about the lies that Boris Johnson has told Parliament. You heard in some of the clips that you just...
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
Well, he's lied to the public, he's lied to you, he's lied to Parliament, it appears. This is extraordinarily serious. You know, we've all been amazed by some of the sleaze and scandal around Boris Johnson in recent months, but I think this is the worst.
As a London MP, lastly, Sir Ed, you will recall his time as mayor, where his mixture, I don't know, his combination of boyish enthusiasm just seemed, his elan seemed to get him out of scrape after scrape after scrape, even falling over in a river in Lewisham and getting stranded on a zip wire. Is the game up now?
Well, personally,
Continue on M4 for 9 miles.
I've never thought Boris Johnson was up to the job. On many, many reasons, I think he's a flawed character, let alone disagreeing with his politics. So I've never wanted him to be in that post for our country. I think his lies are catching up with him.
Sir Ed Davey, your leader of the Lib Dems, Liberal Democrats, thank you for that. 12 minutes after 7. Remember, the question I'm asking you, if you, until last night when the story broke, if you still had confidence, a level of confidence, has that been shredded? What authority does he actually have? He's in a, I would say, probably, I would imagine, thinking back, this is probably the darkest corner in which he's found himself since he's been PM, I would have thought. Your views in a moment. First of all, Dowd, coming to you. Now, what about the police they met? They say it's, quote, in contact with the government over widespread reporting relating to alleged breaches of COVID regulations. Let's get that interpreted to us by legal commentator Danny Shaw. What does this mean, in contact, Danny? Morning.
Good morning, Nick. I think what it means is that they died on this.
You know what, Danny? We're not getting it. Let me take a call. We might have to do the other side of the news spot if we can. So let's go to something, well, a telephone line, which are often very good ideas. Dowd is in Bolton. Dowd, your reaction. Have you any respect? Does the Prime Minister have any authority? Morning to you.
Good morning, Nick. Hope
Yes.
you're doing well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No, I have absolutely no respect for the Prime Minister at all. Johnson has broken the rules. It's quite clear. It's also quite clear that when he told Parliament that there was no parties and no rules were broken, that was a lie. The reason, Nick, I have no respect for the Prime Minister at all is because in the first, second, third lockdown, a lot of people had to endure it. A lot of people went through misery. And the Prime Minister said repeatedly, stay at home and we're all in this together and we're all following the rules. Priti Patel repeatedly attacked people who were breaking the lockdown rules. Metropolitan Police were sending drones, filming people who were breaking the lockdown rules. And the Prime Minister yesterday, it was an email which has proven he that the government broke the rules, and the Prime Minister probably attended the parties. Now, if he cannot follow the rules that his own government is setting, not an independent legal body, not the House of Commons, but his own government is setting, then how can the British people then say to him, we will listen to you on anything and we will trust you on the issues because we know what you're doing? Well, clearly he hasn't got a claim, he hasn't got any authority to lead the country with because he can't follow his own rules.
You've put your points so comprehensively and so well. Can I ask you lastly now, was this one the tipping point or had you already come to that conclusion?
The flats and cash broners was a big tipping point for me, Nick, when the Prime Minister was selling peerages for £3 million, because I thought that was morally bankrupt. And then the flat as well. I was talking to Colin Dale about the flat in April, how that was disgraceful. But this is the final nail in the coffin. You know, Roger Gale said, 2 strikes, 1 more and he's out, and I think this is the last strike because this will hit up with everybody, not just Labour voters, but everybody across the spectrum.
Right. Thank you, particularly, of course, noting that you are in Bolton, which people don't realise is in Greater Manchester. That's the area that Prime Minister captured. So, my goodness me, doesn't that seem a long time ago now? In that most recent general election down, thank you. We'll have more reactions on that. Coming up also after the news and later in the show, the Housing Secretary going after the developers who put up that cladding.
We should not ask hard-working taxpayers to pay more taxes to get developers and cladding companies making vast profits off the hook. We'll make industry pay to fix all of the remaining problems.
More on that after the 7:15 LBC News headlines with Simon Conway.
After new revelations about a bring-your-own-booze party in Downing Street during lockdown, Scotland Yard has confirmed it's in contact with the Cabinet Office. Labour will try to force a Commons vote on cutting VAT on energy bills for a year. 2 16-year-old boys have been charged with the murder of a man in Dorset. LBC weather, brighter conditions spreading south, blustery showers for parts of Scotland, a high of 12 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. Delays of about half an hour on the M25, anti-clockwise to junction 25 at the A10, and that's because a car's broken down and 1 lane is closed for recovery. Delays still of about half an hour on the M1 southbound to junction 14 at Milton Keynes, and that was after those emergency repair works. All the lanes are back open now, but it's still very slow. The A3 remains closed in both directions between the Wooden Bridge at Guildford and Burford. Those investigation works are taking place after an accident. Very slow both ways, especially northbound, where it's queuing from the Hogs Back. And on the trains, London Overground services are only running every half an hour between Surrey Quays and New Cross, and also between Wilson Junction and Richmond.
LBC.
This isn't just music, it's a feeling. The feeling you get knowing that whatever you drive, the AA will get you back on the road. It's the feeling of power to electric drivers. Petrol, diesel or electric, the AA has got you covered. And no extra cost for electric vehicles. And with unlimited call-outs. And they have more expert patrols trained for EVs than anyone else. So whatever you drive, there's no need for that feeling to stop. The AA. Join today. T&Cs apply. Verify online.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973.
telephone. Danny, what does that mean in simple terms that I can understand? Morning again to you, Danny.
Morning again, Nick. I think what this means is that the Metropolitan Police will be urgently in touch with the Cabinet Office to say, look, we have got a whole number of parties here about which there are allegations. Here we have a potential email. They will be wanting to know whether that email is genuine. They will want to hear that from the Cabinet Office. What stage of the investigation are you at? Because that, it would seem to me, and probably you, Nick, as well, would provide significant evidence suggesting a breach of the COVID regulations. And the Met, in its statement in December, said it may review and consider these alleged breaches if significant evidence came to light. So I think this is a bit of a game changer, I think. The position always been from Scotland Yard, they're not going to retrospectively look at alleged breaches of coronavirus regulations. Looking back, weeks or months in the past, that's been their position. But they have always said that if significant evidence comes to light, then they will review that. And I think this is what we're now looking at here.
Let you get on with your day. Thanks, Danny. Hope I haven't held you up too much. Danny Shaw, legal commentator, giving us the background to what that means. Quickly through the headlines then. Mix, you're going to be the next caller. Unsurprisingly, this is the lead story on many of your newspapers that you're waking up to, or finishing your shift, of course. For the Daily Mail, Boris rocked by new party revelations. For the Daily Mirror, invite to do what you like. The Daily Express, enough Boris, you must end Partygate fast now, which actually is probably quite a snappy headline, or good way of putting it. I think, as I recall, it's the front page of the Metro. Yes, it is Downing It Street, and there's a picture of the Prime Minister with a drink not taken at this party, I hasten to add, but at a previous engagement. And there's a picture of the Prime Minister with a drink in his hand on the front page of the Eye as well. Again, not at this alleged, not the party's not alleged, but his alleged attendance at the party. Bring your own booze is the Eye. For the Guardian, furious email reveals number 10, bring your own booze, lockdown party. Front page is the second lead of the Times. Their lead is pressure mounts.
In 2 miles, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
Brits to get COVID booster vaccination using Novak Djokovic and saying that he should, of course, have been, he would, in the view of Prime Minister, should have been vaccinated, and he's urging Brits to don't be like Novak Djokovic, get your vaccination. Why the Sun splash that? As they're trying to stay close to Mr. Johnson, I have no idea. And the Financial Times, now this is all that's, as we're worrying about parties that might or might not have been attended at 10 Downing Street. Moscow continues to arm up. Moscow threatens to walk out as Ukraine talks remain deadlocked. These are talks that are taking place in Geneva, which, at best, I don't know if you saw some of the video footage that came out of there. At best, the relationship between the two key people from the US and Russia was frosty, should we put it like that? And clearly no progress being made whatsoever. Right, let's get your views. Is this the straw that breaks the camel's back, the final tipping point? Does the Prime Minister now have any authority, or is it totally shrimped? Miggs in Chiswick, what do you say, Miggs? Good morning.
Good morning and Happy New Year to you, Nick.
Oh gosh, Happy New Year to you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, your view on this?
Well, I'm just saying that what everybody else is thinking of, well, most of the people, that's one rule for the Prime Minister as always, and the next another rule for everybody else. And I know you said that the police are saying they're looking into it, but they, nothing's going to come of that because, the Prime Minister's the big boss, so, I don't think anything's going to happen to him because he should be taken down, but...
what do you mean he should... when you say he should be taken down, what does that mean?
Taken out of power, let somebody else do his job.
You see, as you speak, an email's just arrived. This happened 2 years ago. What does it matter? Let's get on with our lives. What would you say to that emailer?
Yeah, but it's just one thing after another, isn't it, really?
What do you mean?
There's always one thing with the Prime Minister. Every other job he's had has always been in trouble one way or the other. It's always caught out of a lie here and there. So it's always one thing after another, isn't it? Really, really.
He does have at times, it would see, a flawed character. I think that's fair to say. Mix, thank you for that. Sarah in Tunbridge. Sarah, good morning.
Yes, I think what concerns me the most is the canteen culture. I mean, 100 people apparently, assuming this is not a...
Well, 100 people invited. It is thought
exactly.
that attendance was around 30 or 40. It is thought.
Exactly. So everybody kept mum about their own Prime Minister. I mean, assuming this is true, and the last expert you had on who said, you know, they've got to find out if it's a real email and all that stuff. Assuming it's all true, 30 people turned up. Did no one, every time our Prime Minister spoke in the House, he went on about what a good boy he was and how he had obeyed everything. No, even no one dared speak out, or they did speak out, and the media weren't interested, and no one else was. I just would like to, this is the thing that frightens me. There's a canteen culture like in the, you know, it's the same in the police and it's repression.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the police. Thank you for your view. So you're concerned, I hear you. 100 invites went out, 30/40 people attended, and yet we know nothing about it until it's broken by ITV News yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening. Sarah, thank you. You mentioned the police, which leads me neatly into our next conversation, which is concerned...
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
That comes from Home Secretary Priti Patel into the case, of course, involving Wayne Couzens. This as another police officer, a Scotland Yard protection officer accused of a string of sex offences, has been charged with attacking another 4 women. PC David Carrick is now accused of a total of 29 crimes against 8...
Exit at junction 3.
Recently as 2020, after details emerged yesterday of 9 further allegations, including 6 counts of rape against the 47-year-old. Margaret Davis is crime correspondent.
In a quarter of a mile, at Cranford Parkway interchange, take the 4th exit onto the Parkway, A312.
What are they trying to determine what went wrong in that instance? Margaret, good morning.
Morning, Nick. So this inquiry set up after the rape and murder of Sarah Everard by 7 police officer Wayne Couzens. We'll look at whether any red flags were missed earlier in his career. So the Home Secretary's now set out what the first phase of the inquiry is going to focus on, primarily around Couzens. He'd worked for Kent Police and the Civil Nuclear Constabulary before the Metropolitan Police. So we'll look at how he was vetted when we moved between the forces, and also whether there were any concerns about his behaviour, particularly around women, and whether any issues were known about or raised by his colleagues at the time. There were also allegations of indecent exposure made against him, both in 2015 and the days before the murder. So as you say, the first part of the inquiry is intended to finish this year. It's going to start soon. And the Home Office has said that will shape the second part that's due to look at wider issues around policing and the protection of women.
Noting in the other instance I mentioned, the protection officer has denied all the charges. He will appear...
Exit the roundabout onto the Parkway.
I say again, he denies all charges. But there's an unfortunate look about the Met at the moment that needs to be addressed, Margaret, isn't there?
Well, absolutely, yes. And I mean...
Continue on the Parkway for 1 mile.
Inquiry set up after the murder of Sarah Everard. The second part will look at wider issues in policing. Certainly, campaigns are saying that they feel the current scope is a bit too narrow. Reclaim These Streets has said that the inquiry could end up perpetuating the myth of there being one bad apple.
Margaret, you'll be working hard on that for the Press Association, I'm sure. Thank you, Margaret Davis, crime correspondent at the Press Association. We'll come back to more of your views. What authority, if any, the Prime Minister has completely shredded now? Party on, or Partygate, life's one long party, it would seem, at 10 Downing Street. More calls coming in on that. Also, coming up after the news...
An armed police standoff enters its 3rd day as a man with his 8-year-old son refuses to leave the house. From Coventry for LBC, I'm Josh Giltrap.
And more on that cladding scandal.
My name is Sophie Blishner and I've received the highest ever fire safety bill for removing flammable cladding. I'll be telling Nick my story later in the show.
The size of the bill is quite extraordinary. It's believed to be the highest in the whole of the land. That's coming up later. 7:30, you're listening to Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, here on LBC. Let's get the news, Simon Conway.
The Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey, has told LBC people will be extremely angry about the latest allegations of lockdown rules being breached in Downing Street. A leaked email shows one of the Prime Minister's most senior aides invited more than 100 staff for drinks in the Number 10 garden in May 2020. It's been reported Boris Johnson was among 40 people who attended. Police say they're in contact with the government. Labour will try to force a Commons vote on its proposals to cut VAT on energy bills for a year. It's one of the measures the party's put forward to help those struggling with the rising cost of living. One of the country's largest energy suppliers has apologised after suggesting to customers that they cuddle pets or do star jumps to stay warm this winter. OVO Energy emailed a list of ways to save on heating bills. LBC weather, blustery showers in western and northern Scotland slowly easing, elsewhere becoming brighter except for some southern parts where it'll be cloudy with some rain, a high of 12 degrees.
This is LBC. When your tenants have a burst pipe, superheroes crashing through the walls are going to help anyone. With Direct Line landlord emergency added to your policy.
In a quarter of a mile, at Wagoners Roundabout, take the second exit and stay on the Parkway, A312.
Also assemble locksmiths, glaziers, electricians and drainage engineers. Search Direct Line landlord emergency. We're on it. Direct Line. Residential properties. Optional add-on up to 1,500 per caller. Extreme weather conditions may extend response time. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
You're a visionary, an entrepreneur, a passionate business owner, driven by results and poised for growth. You need Opportunity. They easily match businesses of all sizes to winnable council, NHS and national government contracts. Just sign up, match with tenders, and they'll help with the rest. Now is the time. Seize your opportunity. Get your free trial at opportunity.com.
Exit the roundabout onto the Parkway. Continue on A312 for 1.5 miles.
Change with them. On the 1st of January, the rules changed on submitting customs declarations. Now, if you bring in stock in from the EU, you have to declare it when the goods come into the country. No problem. I don't want my stuff held up at the ports. I want it in the post, on the way to my customers. To keep your business moving, visit gov.uk/import goods into UK.
Euronics is a network of over 600 independent electrical stores. They've been right on your high street for generations, each one offering great local service and value on big brand home appliances like AEG, Belling and stoves. Everything comes direct from your local store. Get the brands you love. Pop in, go online, or give them a call. Independent stores supporting local communities just how it should be.
Euronics.
Ransomware attacks are on the rise, and your business cannot afford to rely on yesterday's technology. BlackBerry Cybersecurity Solutions, powered by Silence AI, specialize in preventing ransomware, malware, and malicious attacks before they happen. Let BlackBerry show you how to prepare and respond to today's sophisticated and ever-evolving cyber attacks. To learn more, visit blackberry.com/protect me. That's blackberry.com/protect me.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
7:34 is the time. Come back to your reactions to this party. Life is one long one at number 10 Downing Street. Alan, you'll be the next caller. Let's get into the world of business, though, and finance and get some headlines there. And I'm afraid it's also gloomy news, I have to say, because one newspaper's actually worked out, the Daily Mirror, that the Wilko, which of course is the houseware chain across the whole of the country, it looks like 300 plus jobs to go. Details now. Danny Hewson, financial analyst at AJ Bell. Give us the background to this, Danny. Morning to you.
Good morning, Nick. Yeah, I mean, basically, retailers we know suffered tremendously during the pandemic when shops had to close. And then as things started to reopen, people are working from home still right now. And some people have wanted to stay away from high streets. And all that meant that there was a 40% fall in visitor numbers after the March lockdown for Wilko. And it's now reassessing where it needs its stores, how many stores that it needs, and as you say, it's looking at closing 15 of them with 300 jobs at risk. Now it's interesting because the decisions about where it's closing the stores really depend on whether or not it can renegotiate those rents. Of course, now retailers really struggling, and those property owners, if they want to keep retailers in their buildings, they're having to bring the rent down. So it's all creating a situation which I do think is going to lead to more retailers closing their doors over the next year.
And of course, competition, as the paper points out, other chains such as B&M, Poundland as well. They're perhaps taking some of their lunch, as they say. Okay, let's go to the other end of the scale, allowing that Wilko is, of course, at the bargain end. How are Rolls-Royce doing?
Rolls-Royce is doing incredibly well. What's the one thing that you felt that after COVID, because you sort of thought life was short, that you really had to buy?
Alcohol.
I have to say that is where my mind went as well. I know a lot of my
not
friends...
Not a Rolls-Royce at least, anyway, Danny, I assure you.
Quite a lot of people spent money on putting in hot tubs in their
right,
gardens,
yeah.
which are now clearly not being used so much. But yeah, if you had £233,000 or £432,000, then maybe you would go for a Rolls-Royce. And a lot of super rich did decide that life was short. They were going to do what's dubbed revenge shopping, and they were going to spend their money on a very nice Rolls, which basically have led to record-breaking sales for the business. And crucially, the boss is saying that it looks like this year could be even better.
Goodness me. I remember last year it was revealed that the executive jet and private yacht market, totally untouched, of course. At that end, I think, the air is so rarefied, these folk continue to enjoy themselves. One person who's going to take, unfortunately, the business...
In 200 yards, turn right onto Roslyn Avenue.
...will be taking some money out himself. The background to this, Jamie Oliver. Danny.
Yeah, so Jamie's Italian restaurants collapsed in 2018. At the time, we were all talking about the fact that there were too many of these great big casual dining.
Turn right onto Roslyn Avenue, then you will arrive at your destination.
And the business collapsed. They called in the administrators. And what happens when a business collapses is they sell off all the bits that they can, and what's left is divided among the people that are owed money. But of course, there is a pecking order, and people like meat suppliers who are owed a lot of money are fairly well down that pecking order. However, it has emerged that Jamie Oliver is pretty much near the top of the pecking order. So although he has lost a substantial amount of money, he put in about £15 million, he is going to get back 1.75 million, which leaves a bit of a nasty taste because he's not exactly hurting for...
You have arrived.
Danny, let's talk tomorrow.